Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the East Brunswick Township Council Agenda Action Meeting for October 14, 2019. Will everybody rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? And today we will have a moment of silence for Mr. Erwin Baker, who passed away this week. He was the father of our township attorney, Mike Baker. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please have a seat. Ms. Perry, can you please call the roll?
Councilman McAvoy?
Here.
Councilman Spadafino?
Here.
Councilwoman Sullivan?
Here.
Councilman Wendell?
Here.
Council President Stanley?
Here.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided as required under Chapter 231, Public Laws 1975, specifying the time, date, location, and to the extent known, the agenda. By posting a copy on the Municipal Building Public Notice Bulletin Board located in the main lobby, providing a copy to the Home News Tribune and Sentinel newspapers, posting a copy on the Township's website, and by filing a copy in the office of the Township Clerk in accordance with the certification, which will be entered in the minutes.
Thank you. Tonight, we're going to start with a proclamation for Alpha Delta Kappa Month for October 2019. Councilman Spadafino will come to the podium to read the proclamation. If anyone here from the public to join him, please do so.
From the Office of the Mayor, proclamation, Alpha Delta Kappa Month, October 2019. Whereas the Alpha Delta Kappa is an international organization for women educators. All members strive to promote excellence in education, strengthen the status and advancement of the teaching profession, serve the educational community, and provide a desirable, healthy, intelligent image of concerned, caring educators. And whereas women in education constitute a great portion of the nation's workforce, and are constantly striving to serve their communities and nation in education, cultural, and charitable programs, leading to harmony, happiness, and peace among all people. And whereas major goals of Alpha Delta Kappa International Honorary Organization for Women Educators are to give recognition to outstanding educators, to build a fraternal fellowship among educators, adding to their effectiveness in promoting excellence in education, to establish high standards of education, to promote educational and charitable projects and activities enriching the lives of individuals everywhere and assisting those individuals into happy, constructive, and fulfilling lives. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that I, Brad J. Cohen, Mayor of Township of East Brunswick, commend the Kappa chapter for all their community services and do hereby proclaim the month of October 2019 Alpha Delta Kappa Month in the Township of East Brunswick and urge all residents to support the efforts of our educators. Given under my hand, Brad J. Cohen, Mayor, East Brunswick Township.
We are members of the local Kappa chapter for Alpha Delta Kappa, and I just wanted to share for a moment with you some of the things that we are doing locally as professionals that are involved in charitable activities. These are in our communities, in our towns, in our states, the nation, and we are an international group, so we do that as well. We help with shelters like Dina's Dwellings in Old Bridge, and food kitchens like Elijah's Promise, which many of you are aware of. We give to the East Brunswick High School Bare Necessities Closet, and we give scholarships to seniors from high schools, and we hold clothing drives and book drives and provide items for the vets at the Menlo Park work home. And we attend the Camp Daisy fundraiser breakfast, and we help put together baskets for their trick-or-treat that they have every year. But we are particularly proud to announce that the Daisy Camp and Daisy Association has been selected as the 80K State Altruistic Project for the year 2019-2020. So there will be funds that will be gathered from all the different chapters in New Jersey that will go to them because they do such a wonderful job here. So we would like to just thank you for this dedication, and we thank the mayor for providing this for us, and we continue with our dedication as an ever-growing organization, and thank you for this recognition.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to call on Councilman Wendell for a proclamation for Fire Prevention Week, October 6th through the 12th, 2019. Not every hero wears a cape. Plan and practice your escape.
How you doing, John? I have a proclamation from the Office of the Mayor. Whereas Fire Prevention Week, October 6th to 12th, 2019, whereas the Township of East Brunswick is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living in and visiting East Brunswick, and whereas fire is a serious public safety concern both locally and nationally, and homes are the locations where people are at greatest risk from fire, and whereas home fires killed 2,630 people in the United States in 2017, and according to the National Fire Prevention Association, and fire departments in the United States responded to 357,000 home fires. And whereas the majority of U.S. fire deaths, 4 out of 5, occur at home each year, and whereas the fire death rate per 1,000 homes fire reported to U.S. fire departments was 4% higher in 2017 than in 1980. And whereas when smoke alarm sounds, East Brunswick residents may have less than 2 minutes to escape to safety, and whereas the East Brunswick residents who have planned and practiced a home fire escape plan are more prepared and will therefore be more likely to survive a fire. And whereas the East Brunswick residents should make a home escape plan, drawing a map of each level of the home, showing all doors and windows. They should practice the home fire escape drill at least twice a year during the day and at night with everyone in the household, including visitors. And whereas East Brunswick residents should teach children to escape on their own in case adults can't help them. And whereas East Brunswick residents should make sure everyone in the home knows how to call 911 or the local emergency number from a cell phone or a neighbor's phone. And whereas East Brunswick's residents should practice using different ways out, and whereas the East Brunswick residents in a real emergency should get low and go under the smoke to get out quickly. And whereas the East Brunswick residents should get out and stay out, never going back inside the home for people, pets, or things. And whereas the East Brunswick residents are responsive to the public education measures and are able to take action to increase their safety from fire, especially in their homes. And whereas the 2019 Fire Prevention Week theme, Not Every Hero Wears a Cape, Plan and Practice Your Escape, effectively serves to remind us that we need to take personal steps to increase our safety from fire. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that Brad J. Cohen, Mayor of the Township of East Brunswick, does hereby proclaim October 6th through 12th, 2019 as Fire Prevention Week throughout East Brunswick, and urges all the people of East Brunswick to be aware of their surroundings, look for available ways out, and in the event of a fire or other emergency, respond when the smoke alarm sounds by exiting the building immediately. Presented to the Brookview Volunteer Fire Company, the East Brunswick Independent Fire Company, and the Old Bridge Volunteer Fire Company, given under his hand and the Great Seal of the Township of East Brunswick this 14th day of October in the year 2019. Congratulations, gentlemen. I'm sure you guys want to
Good evening. This year's theme is Not Every Hero Wears a Cape, Plan and Practice Your Escape. We're talking about having an escape plan at home and fire drills at home. When we do fire prevention programs at school, we ask the students, you guys do fire drills? They all hands go up. We ask who's done a fire drill at home. You get 1 or 2 students that put their hands up. A fire is more likely to happen at home at night. It's very important to have an escape plan, know where the meeting place is out front of a home or apartment, and practice it. So that's the main thing that we want to get to you guys. And Mayor and Council, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. At this time, I would like to call on our Assemblywoman Nancy Pinkin to come up for a proclamation for the National Business Women's Week 2019, followed by Councilwoman.
Do it at the same time?
Yeah, sure.
If I could, I would like to have the women from the East Brunswick Regional Chamber come up with me. Sharon, why don't you start?
You sure?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. We could be here all day if I shake hands with everybody, but I'll
So-
shake anyway.
Yeah, they're moving the tables for
Come over
nothing.
here. Come around this side. On this side, too, you can.
There you go. Perfect.
Okay. This is the proclamation for National Business Women's Week 2019. Whereas the third full week of October is designated as National Business Women's Week and recognized statewide as a time to honor many accomplishments and contributions of women of every race, religion, class, and ethnicity in the field of business and employers who support working women and their families. And whereas women who have been historically and consistently underestimated and overlooked by the working world regardless of the impact they make in every occupation, from the factory floor to the boardroom, through their meaningful and valuable contributions. And whereas National Business Women's Week acknowledges the achievements of women in all fields of business, which positively impacts the development of self-respect, confidence, and leadership in girls and women nationally. And whereas the East Brunswick community is encouraged to learn about the female business leaders in our township and country, to raise awareness about needs of resources for women, and to champion women in business. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that I, Brad J. Cohen, Mayor of the Township of East Brunswick, do hereby proclaim the third full week of October 2019 as National Business Women's Week, and urge our citizens to recognize the many accomplishments of businesswomen in our community and continue efforts to enhance the business environment for women to succeed. Given under his hand in the Great Seal of the Township of East Brunswick this 14th of October in the year 2019, and the 243rd year of our nation's independence. Brad J. Cohen, Township of East Brunswick. Congratulations.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lamia Hakim. I am a business owner here in East Brunswick, and I'm also the Vice President of East Brunswick Regional Chamber of Commerce. We are here today, and we would like to, on behalf of the Chamber, we would like to thank you for including us and joining the Township Council today. So thank you very much.
I have with me a resolution from the Senate and the General Assembly recognizing October 20th to the 26th as New Jersey's observance of National Business Women's Week. And the important contributions that women make to businesses in the professional world, not only as employees and employers, but also as civic-minded citizens, is helping to make our state a better place. And when you think about just 20 years ago, women, if they wanted to start a business, they would have to have a man co-sign the lending documents in order to get approval for a business. And now, you know, I serve on the Women, Minority, and Veterans Procurement Study Commission, and we find that many of the new businesses that are being started are, in fact, being started by women. And we talked a little bit, we had a meeting at one of the local businesses before we came here tonight, and about a dozen of the members of the chamber are women-owned businesses. And just listening to women talking about what they were doing, many of the women here are, you know, doing some of their business before work, going to a job, then going back to their business. Some of the women are working 24/7 in business. I've been in some of the businesses where the women are there with their kids trying to do their work. So recognizing all that women are doing in this, in their, whether it's
in a business or being part of a business is so important to our community, because we can't do the great things we want to do in town if we don't have businesses doing well. So both the employees and the business owners, we salute them, and we appreciate the recognition by the township on this day. So thank you so much. Yeah, let's come up and take care.
That's why we set it up that way.
Come over. They want your picture behind you.
Okay, I'll just pass it out. I'll share it with Amy. Share it with Amy.
Can you get closer? If we go back any further, we won't be able to see us. Okay, that's perfect. Great.
You can just introduce everybody.
Thank you.
Council President Stanley asked if we would all introduce ourselves, so I'll start off very quickly. I'm Amy Denholtz-Lewandowski. I'm the Economic Development Officer for the Township, and I'm also the owner of Jazzercise Dance Fitness classes in East Brunswick.
Hi, Brittany Fadoon. I actually own Elite Fitness Alliance. I am moving my business from Metuchen to East Brunswick in the coming weeks.
Yeah.
Thank you. And by day, I'm a CPA at Wilkin and Gutton Plan CPAs on Tice's Lane.
Lamia Hakim. I'm owner and vice president at Temperature Pro of Central New Jersey. We're a local business here in East Brunswick, and also I am the vice president of the East Brunswick Regional Chamber of Commerce. Thank you.
My name is Eda Arara. I actually manage the Holiday Inn Express in the Tower Center, and I am a very long time resident of the township. Thank you.
I'm Vicki Laszlo from Laszlo Center for Hope and Healing and Mental Health and Substance Abuse Outpatient Treatment. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Carrie Grove, and new to town, but my husband and I are the owners of Lakeview Day Camp on Reeve Avenue. So thank you for being so welcoming.
Hi, I'm Marissa Guagliardo, Area Manager for Northfield Bank, located right here on Route 18 in East Brunswick.
My name's Jane Miller. I'm a real estate agent. I take care of your personal and business need in East Brunswick. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Angel Steiner. I work as a financial advisor, and I provide investment and insurance for the community.
What company?
So I work under Transamerica. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Ronnie Lee. I'm an East Brunswick advocate for the community, so thank you so much for your support. East Brunswick Youth Tennis had your support, and we've really grown. This is our second season, so hopefully all of you will attend our Halloween Fall Festival closure in 2 weeks to come out to Community Park and enjoy all the festivities with all the young individuals and pickleball players, hopefully. Certainly I welcome and appreciate all that Amy and the whole Chamber of Commerce have provided. So I try to network their businesses with our community. So thanks for the opportunity in growing East Brunswick and our redevelopment.
Thank you.
I just want to thank you again. Earlier today, we were joined by our new business in town, Smiley's Glam Studio, and Kim Belair. And while they can't be here with us now, they had their grand opening yesterday, and it's just one more example of women conducting their business in East Brunswick. So thank you again for this recognition and opportunity.
Thank you very much. And moving on, we're having the proclamation. Oh,
I just wanted to add, the business that moved into town yesterday is a salon owned by two women, minorities, first-generation Americans, and both in their early 20s. So I give a lot of credit to individuals who are taking their chance here in East Brunswick. And just from a recollection, just seeing how far we've come as a country, I remember exactly 31 years ago when we were applying to medical school, both my wife and I, and our class was 40% women, which was unheard of at that time in terms of percentage of women. Today, medical schools are actually more women than men. When she was interviewed for her dermatology residency, the first question that the person asked her was, "Are you thinking about getting pregnant?" Which she answered no, because she actually already was pregnant, so she really didn't lie. And but the point is that today you wouldn't even think of asking that question. There is no daylight between what the opportunities are for men and women. They are and should be, and hopefully always will be, considered equals. And I think the skies are the limit. And we're thrilled to be able to honor women in this fashion tonight. So I thank each every one of you for coming out, and all of those that actually couldn't be here, but thank you.
At this time, I'm going to call on Councilman McAvoy to come up and read the proclamation for National Hispanic Heritage Month.
Office of the Mayor Proclamation, National Hispanic Heritage Month 2019. Whereas National Hispanic Heritage Month celebrates the accomplishments of Hispanic Americans who have enriched our culture and society, and whereas Hispanic American men and women embody the American value of devotion to faith, family, hard work, and patriotism through their countless celebrations, contributions as leaders, innovators, entrepreneurs, and members of our armed forces. Whereas for generations, Hispanic Americans have played a pivotal role in our country's strength and prosperity. Their spirit, energy, and leadership are woven into the culture of America and enrich all of our lives. Whereas this month we honor Hispanic Americans for their countless contributions to our nation. Through their dedication to family, community, and our country, they help to build a better future for all Americans. And now, therefore, I, Brad J. Cohn, Mayor of the Township of East Brunswick, do hereby proclaim September 15th through October 15th, 2019, as National Hispanic Heritage Month, and urge the residents of our community to observe this month with appropriate celebrations, activities, and programs. Given under my hand, the Honorable Brad J. Cohen, Mayor of East Brunswick.
At this time, I'd like to call on the Executive Director of the East Brunswick Redevelopment Agency, Michael Hughes, to come up and make his presentation to the council.
Good evening, Council President, council members, and the mayor. I appreciate you having me back out this evening. I think the last time I was here was probably in early August, I think, if memory serves well. And in the past 8 weeks, we've had a lot of positive momentum and positive news on the redevelopment front here in East Brunswick. First, I'll start with kind of a global agency overview, and probably most important to members of council. You'll be happy to know the agency is on a path not to profitability, but to self-sustain itself in the foreseeable future and multiple years out. We know that the redevelopment agency is going to serve as an agency and a group that can benefit economic growth in the town, as well as provide needed funds and needed support in other places to support our property taxpayers here in East Brunswick. We've begun taking in money. By the time 2019 is at a close, we will be completely self-sustaining based upon revenue that the agency takes in. To go through kind of our parcels here that we work on, and that's within the scope of the redevelopment agency, I'll start with the furthest along and go to those who are preceding that. The first is 39 Edgeboro, and I thank the council for their role in passing a financial agreement. The redevelopment agency passed a redevelopment agreement with IDI Logistics, who are the developers of that site on Edgeboro Road. You will recall from the financial agreement that there's a construction timeline that IDI Logistics has to hold on to. They've already begun some preliminary design and construction on the site, and we expect, as per that important clause in the redevelopment agreement, that that site will be complete by 12/31 of 2020. With buildings that are essentially a warehousing space like that, it's a lot of work to get the shell up on the outside. There's not much that has to be done within. By all accounts and all professionals in the industry, as well as IDI themselves, they should have no issues in hitting that construction timeline. I can't say much on the potential tenant of the space because I don't think all of their paperwork is signed just yet and final, but you can expect it to be very similar to the other tenants that they have in their warehousing sites around central New Jersey. This is a company that builds these routinely in other exits off the turnpike, and it's nice that East Brunswick now gets to reap some of that benefit that we're seeing in the growth of warehousing space up and down the New Jersey Turnpike. Moving down to areas 2A and 3A, which are our largest plots that we're working with in the redevelopment agency. You'll know that the conditional designation for river development equities was extended. When we had started this process, attorneys from both sides told us we'd probably be closer to 6 months to gain a redevelopment agreement. We try to have as aggressive of a timeline as we can, but with a project that is, without a doubt 9 digits, it's important to take the time to be thoughtful about the negotiation process as we work to assemble a redevelopment agreement. You'll be happy to know that that redevelopment agreement is pretty much finalized. We had it in front of the entire redevelopment agency in closed session last Monday night to get input from agency commissioners. There's 2 small edits and changes that we're making to the agreement, both not on insurmountable topics. One's on the topic of insurance, the other's on first source labor and hiring practices on the project. We expect those items to be wrapped up at a redevelopment agency meeting in the very near future. It's a complex negotiation. I can't get into everything, but some of the facets that change it from a 90-day process to a 180-day process, I think, are relevant for council members to have an understanding of. One is the master plan and concept plan of the project itself, getting a level of comfort with the agency commissioners as well as the administration on what this project's going to ultimately look like and what the concept plan is ultimately going to be. That concerns the placement of buildings themselves. That includes the geometry of the roadways that are going to run through this site. It takes in everything from the concept of, possibly what tenants are going to be moving in, making sure that there's space for loading and unloading of retail that's not going to impact any residential units on the property, as well as dealing with jug handle issues on Route 18 and having a number of meetings with DOT concerning, possible future edits to that jug handle. In addition, we had to address the specter of litigation to the designation on the entire redevelopment area. And we have now crafted a redevelopment agreement, I think, that all attorneys can look at that protects the township and addresses that upcoming litigation. The question of liquor licenses on the site, if we want to make this a live, work, play concept, the concept of liquor licenses, how many there are available and what they can do to maximize the use of those has been addressed and thought about in the redevelopment agreement, as well as project schedule, which is very important as we talk about for all our sites to be able to meet milestones and have an achievable yet aggressive schedule, which I think we've been able to do. We had to confront financing and the ability of the developer to finance the project, get it off the ground, as well as an understanding from members of the agency and the agency commissioners to have some degree of comfort with that. And then lastly, address the tasks, the steps, and the timeline that are going to be associated with property acquisition. And that goes into the phasing program of the project schedule itself. Being able to give landowners in the redevelopment agency, redevelopment area rather, some certainty, making sure that the developer, to the extent possible, every place is going to enter into negotiations with property owners and be able to come to a consensus on what folks are looking for and to be able to negotiate. I know it is the stance of the council as well as other folks personally on the redevelopment agency. The condemnation is really not the route we want to go down at any point. It's not option 1, 2, or 3, or 4 for that matter. We've got a number of other tools available to us to help property owners that are within the redevelopment area gain some certainty, have an understanding of what's going to be going on, and ultimately have the developer on the hook to acquire those properties so the township is not just being held out as a landlord for long periods of time. With that, some other news on the redevelopment site. We have had some discussions that have moved pretty well about having the developer also for this redevelopment area contract with some street art groups and some urban design firms with some money they may be able to save on the jug handle to improve the aesthetic of the redevelopment area, bring in some groups like the East Brunswick Arts Coalition to have some sense of community in the site and have some input and stakeholder engagement on what is ultimately going to be the aesthetic and the feel of this redevelopment area. Lastly, we can go down to 110 Tice's. I know a number of council members were present for the demolition of the old Hostess factory over there. I'm pleased to say that demolition is nearly complete. There was some remediation that had to be done, as well as a pretty significant excavation effort. Some of the equipment from the old Hostess factory had foundations 8 and 10 feet deep in the ground, so digging those up was no small task. They've completed that. We're working on a redevelopment agreement with them in tandem while we're working with River Development, as well as a financial agreement. You'll know they've submitted a preliminary site plan to the township, but that's going to be taken a look at first by our redevelopment planner, just as River Development Equities was, and we're going to be taking a look to make sure that that conforms to the redevelopment plan and the vision that was set forth by the governing body and the planning board, as well as strict adherence, so we're not going to need a ton of bulk variances to that property either. So we're in the process of negotiating that. It was a sign of good faith that they've taken that old building down. We want to be able, to the extent we can, move in concert with Area 2A and 3A as much as possible, so there's a consistent aesthetic throughout the redevelopment area, as well as the left hand knowing what the right hand is doing, and we have an understanding of how everything works together and the interplay between these projects. Lastly, on your agenda this evening, you're going to see a edit, I believe, to a resolution, or an edit to an ordinance. This is just a resolution on the site on Harts Lane for Ace Auto Wreckers. This is a group that, business that came to the township learning about what we were doing in the redevelopment area. We had studied these two particular parcels of property going back now 5 years ago when we did the original redevelopment study. They asked to be taken out of that redevelopment area. They've since apparently gained confidence in the work that the East Brunswick Redevelopment Agency is doing, as well as the commitment that the governing body and mayor has to redeveloping East Brunswick and making it a vibrant place to start and grow a business. They asked to be included now in a redevelopment area. That particular resolution, I think that's before you tonight, just includes another adjacent parcel of their property to be included in the redevelopment study that will be coming to yourselves and the planning board relatively soon, should that resolution pass. I know that's a lot of information. As always, to council members, I remain available to you should you need anything, and I'll open it up to questions.
Just in regard to the Ace Auto Wreckers site, the parcel that's being included is a parcel that was previously studied but was omitted from the original request.
Yeah, I think the original ordinance that was passed just didn't, as an oversight, didn't include that particular parcel. Everything that's being studied.
It's a parcel that's wholly owned by Ace Auto Wreckers.
Correct. Correct. It's his property anyway.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Councilman McAvoy?
Mr. Hughes, if I may be so informed, Mike.
You may.
Thank you. bottom line, River Development Equities is still not signed on officially yet.
They are not signed on officially. I think they would sign the redevelopment agreement as it's constructed right now. They were in my office ready to do so. It's a matter of 2 minor edits to get all agency commissioners on board and have something, I think, a work product that's defensible and that we're all very excited about. So we're going back, making those 2 edits. This has been, there's probably been 16 or 17 edits back and forth of this document and probably 8 or 9 in-person meetings between the agency and the developer. I would say they are entirely committed and on board with the project for sure.
Because when they were named on January 18th, that's when the 90-day window opened up, and now it's been 9.5 months that they're still not signed on yet.
Actually, no. The
No?
90-day window did not start.
It started
They
in
were not named
about
until-
March. We started meeting with folks in January when I came on, and we had taken meetings with every respondent to the RFP for the month of January. I don't have the dates on me. I would think we're getting closer to, we always had June as the original expiry or early July, so I think we're closer to 6 or 7, certainly not 9. I anticipate the process being wrapped up in about 30 days, maybe less.
Excuse me. Excuse me, Councilman, just want to make clarification here. As far as the timeline is concerned, as far as them wanting to come on board, that's true. A lot of the edits and the requests for changes is coming from the commissioners, who are actually, very thorough and in-depth in researching and as well as questioning a lot of the work product. So a lot of the requests that were made for the edits are coming from the commissioners. It's not coming from...
And I'll speak to some of the issues that I talked about before. On a number of occasions, members of the redevelopment agency and the commissioners have come back in meetings and said, we don't like the placement of this building, or we don't think the road geometry works here. There is some time built in then for the developers, architects, roadway planners, and traffic engineers to come back with a plan that not only works to our specifications, but every edit that goes to that concept plan that River Development makes then gets sent to our redevelopment planner, who has to also evaluate and opine on the new master plan to ensure its consistency with the goals and the visions of the redevelopment plan the township and the planning board had passed previously. So every edit that we have, there is some time that takes in there to turn the document around, and we're in constant communication. So I think they are just as, if not more, interested in the project than they were when we started. It's a matter of having everybody's voice being heard and having a document that everyone's bought into and really likes.
Again, my bottom line point is they have not signed on as the developer as of yet.
I think it would depend on the
Can
definition.
you, when will the so-called feedback phase and a complete package be shown to the community?
I would anticipate shortly after a redevelopment agreement being signed by the agency and the developer.
I would have to, you're gonna get the redevelopment agreement signed, then there's gonna be quite a bit of time for design work that's gonna go on by the developer before there's a package ready to be, presented. There's a good 90 to 150 days that's gonna happen for the ultimate design work before we can, present anything to the community.
Yeah, at that point, the redevelopment agreement's a public document. There's certainly some understanding of what the project will look like and a schedule from there. I would anticipate then further site work and engineering to be done thereafter.
Can you name any independent small businesses that have contacted you and said that we want to be in this redevelopment project?
Yes, but I won't do that publicly.
Okay, so there are some.
Yes.
Are there a lot?
What's a lot? A lot could be 5, it could be 50, it could be 500.
Give me a percentage on filling up the entire.
Most of the calls I have gotten are from independent businesses and not large franchises or chains.
And therefore, the same question goes for high quality and specialty retailers. Have some of them contacted you, say that they want to be part of it?
Yes, I will. In short, yes. I would say that there are very high quality specialized retailers that are looking at taking space in this site.
Most of those questions are being routed directly to the developer, as we're not.
Yeah, I mean, anyone
we're
who
not
calls me,
in a
I route
position
to
negotiate.
the developer. I hear from him who's expressed interest, and we chat about that. The overwhelming majority have been of the independent specialty varieties. Maybe they have 5 or 6 locations. So depending on your definition of independent or chain.
And then I read in the summary recommendations that Amy sent to me. I'm sure you saw the document. References smart growth strategies that are being implemented. Do you care to comment on what some of those strategies are going to be?
Well, I think there's a few topics that we've been able to contemplate and incorporate into the plan. I mean, certainly the concept of live, work, play, where folks can live in a place and walk to a transit stop is one of the key tenets of smart growth in the state, and we see investment more and more in transit-oriented developments. In addition to smart growth, an upgrade and a more efficient bus network is also adhering to smart growth principles and strategies. So we're going to be able to take folks at a transportation center on the other side of Route 18 to accommodate, I think, for some more efficient bus routes and a network of bus stops that accommodates more folks in East Brunswick. I think certainly the desire of the township to incorporate green roofs on some of the properties to enhance and incorporate the quality of life there, and to the degree possible and to the degree feasible, instituting green infrastructure there. I think additionally, we've contemplated an AV, CV, or an autonomous vehicle, connected vehicle future, where there's going to be a number of parking decks that we would like to see outfitted with not only electronic vehicle charging stations, but also an understanding of a connected vehicle future or a ride-sharing economy, where maybe they won't need as many parking spaces 20, 30 years down the road. You know, I don't think anybody up here has a crystal ball, but we have an understanding of where technology is going, and we want to be sure we incorporate that.
Have you finalized where the parking deck's going to be? Is it 2A or 3A?
We have not. I will say tentatively right now, the township is going to always maintain the right, if we so choose, to put that out to bid and build that ourselves. It's probably right now straddling 2A and 3A in some form.
Thank you.
Sure.
Anyone else? Councilwoman?
I just have one question. You say you're going to be self-sustaining by the end of 2019. We gave you, the township gave money to start it. Is that going to be paid, including the self-sustaining, or is that part of it? I
think it depends on how everything works out. I mean, the agency has a plan to repay well, first of all, I think the total outlay of funds from the Township Council, the redevelopment agency, when I had started, has never used the full amount. And there's still a large degree of bonding capacity that we've never used to run the agency itself. I think the agency's into the township. It's been in existence for 2.5 years now, I think, in total. A little bit less, probably. I've been on for about 9 months. I think we're into the tune of $200,000 in that realm, and most of that was based upon the startup costs of implementing the redevelopment plan. The short answer is yes, is we're on a schedule to pay that back. That may be included in my number depending on when I get agreements signed and when all the signatures get on a document. Certainly, if not now, then in 2020.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Anyone else? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Seeing there's no agenda session tonight, we're going on to the public hearing portion of the meeting. Can I get a motion for the following ordinance, 19-26, to amend and supplement the revised general ordinances of East Brunswick Township, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, amending Chapter 135, licenses, Article 14, retail electronic smoking device establishments, Section 88, license required, fee of the revised general ordinances of the East Brunswick Township.
Motion approved.
Motion by Councilman Wendell. Can I get a second? Second by Councilman Spadafino. I'm opening this to the public for anyone who wishes to comment on this ordinance and this ordinance only. Anyone from the public wishing to speak?
The gentleman there.
Sir, please come up to the podium. State your name and address.
Hello, my name is Nick Jerzyk. the owner of the Gorilla Vapes on Route 18. There's a lot going on in the vape industry right now. I'm sure you know, a lot of you know, or maybe you don't, but we're sort of getting a lot of bad press these days. I started the business with my father. We quit smoking, and we thought it would be a pretty, we knew it was going to help a lot of people get off of smoking. We have several stores in New Jersey. One of them, again, is right on Route 18, and you know, we've hired, you know, we've employed dozens over the past 5 years of you know, Middlesex and especially East Brunswick residents. Obviously pay taxes. We have 100%. We've never sold to underage, you know, under the age when it was 18, then 19, then 21. We've never had any issues with that whatsoever. We got this letter, and you know, initially I came to speak out here a couple years ago when this licensing fee started. But when I got this letter, I tried to look up the section code, ordinance 19 or section 88, chapter 135. I currently, I don't know if this is just a side thing. I could not find that ordinance online. It stops at 135-76. And then it goes down to 136. So 135-88 is, I wasn't able to find out what that was. So I guess my first, I don't know if I'm allowed to ask questions or anything, but what I was looking to do was find out what East Brunswick has determined is a retail electronic smoking device establishment.
Yeah, I'll take this. So there's a definition here. Let me. Here it is. Yep. I only have the. What is it? 135. This is just the resolutions, right?
Yeah, that's not the code.
I was trying to pull up Clerk's HQ. Give me 1 second. Let me.
Sure.
Pull it up. You got it.
I guess my first request would be that this section that I currently cannot access would be accessible to other store owners in the community before we, before.
But you were given a copy of the ordinance that's being passed, and the section 135-88 was in there. The only thing that was being changed was anything that was being underlined or bracketed, which is explained in the ordinance that you got a copy of.
Okay, so then I guess my question is, what makes a retail electronic smoking device establishment? And I guess I'm not trying to, corner it. The point here is that there's a lot of places that sell electronic cigarettes in East Brunswick, and
they're all licensed.
So 7-Eleven is
Yes.
is
Everybody.
all the convenience stores.
Yes.
They're all
All
going to
of
be
them are
paying this
licensed.
$1,000 fee, and
They were all notified that the fees are changing, and, because I'm the office that sent you the letter, so,
okay.
yes.
So yeah, that's so the definition is any place that sells any type of electronic cigarette.
Correct.
Okay. So you're raising the fee from $250 for the license to $1,500, and a $75 annual license fee to a $1,000 license fee. That might be, I guess that's why none of the convenience stores, gas stations, and 7-Elevens are here, because that may be just a little piece of their pocket. But that, this is my livelihood. This is the livelihood of, a bunch of 20-somethings, college students that are going to these stores. And again, we are already under attack from a lot of stuff that we can't control, misinformation, and really just not well reporting, the facts, and a lot of stuff, again, I can't control, but This is really going to hurt, the mom and pop store like myself. It's not going to be feasible for me to pay $1,000 every year. So I guess I wanted to know what the qualification was and make sure that, the stores that are notorious for selling to underage youth, they at least pay the same stuff that I have to pay.
So in regard to the definition, section 135-87 has a definition, and the retail electronic smoking device establishment is defined as any establishment that sells or offers for sale electronic smoking devices and/or products designed for consumption through inhalation. So that's you should be able to access that online because I'm actually pulling it from the website.
Okay.
So you shouldn't have a problem if you do. Call Nanette and she can definitely assist you. But I just pulled it straight from the code website, so you should be able to access that.
Yeah, that's where I was trying to access it from all day, but okay. All right, well, I guess I said my piece. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Anyone else from the public wishing to speak? Seeing none, I will close the public portion.
Call the roll?
Ms. Perry, please call.
Yes.
No,
Just
on that subject only. Ms. Perry, can you please call?
Councilman McAvoy?
No.
Councilman Spadafino?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sullivan?
Yes.
Councilman Wendell?
Yes.
Council President Stanley?
Yes. Moving on, can I get a following motion for ordinance 19-27, amending Chapter 114, garbage, refuse, and recyclables of the Code of the Township of East Brunswick, balloon release? Motion by Councilman Wendell, second.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Sullivan. I'm opening this to the public. Anyone from the public wishing to speak on this ordinance and this ordinance only? Seeing none, I'll close the public portion. Ms. Perry, can you please call the roll?
You got a question?
Oh, sorry. Councilman?
Because don't we open it? Curious as to the genesis of where this came from.
Well, I can speak for the members of the Environmental Commission contacted me well over a year ago.
Got it.
In regard to this.
Didn't know that.
Large balloon releases, how it affects the wildlife. And
Thank you,
everything.
Councilman.
So.
Okay. Ms. Perry, can you please call the roll?
Councilman McAvoy?
Yes.
Councilman Spadafino?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sullivan?
Yes.
Councilman Wendell?
Yes.
Council President Stanley?
Yes. Moving on to our reports. Reports from the Mayor's Office. Mayor Cohen?
I just wanted to report, we had the gala on the 2nd of October. There was just shy of about 500 people and a waiting list to attend, which was really, really nice to see that many people wanting to come out and do something for their fellow residents, since the purpose of the whole gala was to raise money for charities here in town and to honor people who have been doing years and years of volunteering for the township. So it was a great event. We raised close to $75,000 that evening. So I think that it really is a great testament to the generosity of the people who live here in the town to see that be successful. And as such, I have already booked November 10th for next year. Same bat time, same bat channel. So, and I look forward to working on that project again. But again, I just want to extend my gratitude to the residents who were so gracious in making that so successful.
Thank you, Mayor. From our Township Administrator?
Nothing to see.
Thank you. From our Township Law?
Nothing this evening, thank you.
Thank you. From our Township Clerk?
Nothing.
Anyone from Council? Any reports? Councilman McAvoy?
Water Policy Advisory Committee met on October 3rd. And I don't know why I get snickers from people who say I love that particular committee, but I love that particular committee. And I guess I really put my entire heart and soul into it because of the Flint, Michigan story, the Newark, New Jersey story. And as the elected official sitting up on this dais, it's my responsibility to attend these meetings and ask the questions. Oftentimes, there's data being shared that I just smile and go, okay, because I think George Smith got a little tired of me stopping him. And George, could you explain that to everybody? And okay, that's my little introduction. We went over the discussion of the complaint log. Complaint log was 16 complaints spanning the past 2 months, nothing that George couldn't fix, and 90% of those complaints were a smell in the water that George and his staff goes right to that particular house to rectify, and there's a process for that. Water production report, 200 locations every 6 months get checked out. George was talking about the homes in the community that were built between 82 and 87 seem to have a lot more water issues than houses in the 70s and before, mine being built in 1957 and those being built in the 90s up to today. Went over service lines being repaired. Again, those can come in from complaints, and over the span of the past 2 months found 10 service lines that needed to be had to be tweaked. Just so you know that our water comes from the spring valley of the Delaware River. That's where our water comes from. Flushing is coming up real soon. There's charts on just about every one of the council people's Facebook pages, Twitter feeds. The township is doing it, getting nods from our business administrator. So you know exactly what's going on, so that you can prepare for just being without water for that day. Okay, water breaks. And then just a report that EB Day was very successful, coming from the water guys in terms of the number of people that came up to them and asked questions about the safety of our water. And that's what I have for you, Council President.
Thank you very much, Councilman. Anyone else? Councilwoman?
I just want to remind everybody that tomorrow is the last day to register to vote. If you have not registered yet or changed your address, tomorrow's the last day.
Thank you. Moving on to the public portion. Anyone from the public wishing to speak, please come up to the podium, state your name and address, and limit all your comments to the podium. Anyone from the public wishing to speak?
My name is Marcy Kafar. Marcy Kafar, I live at 18 Springfield Road. Good evening, everyone. Tonight, I'd like to speak to you about the condition of the streets where I live and walk, specifically Springfield Road, Boston Post Road, and Rebel Run. I walk there every day. My concerns are twofold: safety and appearance. We walk in the street because the sidewalks are not always even, and to keep the dog off people's main lawns. For well over 2 years now, I've been requesting the cracks and the gaps in the street and the potholes be repaired. There are spots where the top layer seems to have been shaved off, making the streets uneven. There's one spot where cars need to stop that is like dips, and it gets icy, and it's dangerous for both cars and pedestrians. When the weather is cold, we cannot walk there. Over 2 years ago, a repair attempt was made on Springfield Road. The grass growing through the cracks, they're not just hairline cracks, they're big cracks, was eliminated, and some kind of goop was poured in there. It didn't last long. It peeled up, but the material remains, causing an uneven surface. More recently, crews spent a few days repairing Springfield Road by removing the parts of the street that were cracked and repaving it. Where the work was done, it looks great, but it is incomplete on Springfield, and nothing was done on Boston Post or Rebel Run. I was told on August 16th that these areas were on the list for repair, but nothing has been done, and when I asked more recently where they were on the list, I received no response. When we walk on Dunham's Corner Road, primarily between Springfield and Hershey, we have no choice but to use the sidewalk. There are pieces of sidewalk that are cracked and uneven, that become icy and slippery when wet. I was told back in July that the sidewalk at the corner of Hershey was to be repaired, but as of now, it still is not. While I'm here, I would be remiss if I did not mention the speeding, tailgating, and phone usage on Dunham's Corner Road between Springfield and Hershey as well. That's where I see it. I just have to tell you that the cars are going so fast, and it's terrible. And I'm walking. So I've made many email and website inquiries, which some of you know. I've tried to use that app with no response or action. At this point, I'm looking for guidance from you on the best way to proceed. One day we'll have to sell our home, and regardless of how well we maintain the parts that are under our control, I don't know how I'm going to do that with grass growing in the street. Thank you for your time.
Marcy, if you don't mind, can you please give your contact information to our town clerk?
Oh.
I want to have the PWD look into your.
Thank you.
That's all right?
It's already been looked into, sir.
It has been?
Yes.
Yes, many times.
All right. Thank you.
But it's not complete.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public wishing to speak?
Hello, everyone. My name is Kevin Sexton. I'm at 10 Coleman Road. So forgive me, I'm not 100% certain on all the procedures, so if there's another hearing or not another meeting, and it should have been better said then, sorry about that. I want to talk about, the ordinance requiring a public hearing date, Ordinance 1929, changing the name of Dresden Road to Sexton Lane. My name is Kevin Sexton. I'm the son of Michael Sexton, the man who this name change is meant to honor. And I'll read a little bit about my father and our family in this town. But I noticed in my own writing, I didn't mention it, my father was diagnosed with colon cancer in 2014. And with that, I'll share this background. Our grandparents, Mike and Florence Sexton, purchased our family home at 10 Coleman Road in 1954, having moved to East Brunswick from Bayonne, New Jersey, to take advantage of its rural character. They were active in the local Democratic Party and the Veterans of Foreign Wars. Our father, Michael G. Sexton, was born on February 18, 1958 at St. Peter's University Hospital. He lived his entire life at our family home and attended East Brunswick Public Schools, graduating from high school in 1976. Throughout his youth, he was involved in the community as a member of the local Boy Scout troop and serving as a paper boy. In 1983, Michael graduated from St. Peter's School of Nursing and worked full-time at the hospital until 2008, serving in the cardiac care unit, the recovery room, and the emergency room. He continued to work at St. Peter's on a part-time basis through 2016. In 2006, our father and our mother became licensed foster care parents. My father believed that every child deserved to be in a home where they are loved, even if only for a short time. My father was proud of the impact that he felt was made on these children during their time in our home. In 2008, our father found what he felt to be his true calling as an educator at the Middlesex County Vocational School. He first taught health professions before becoming a school nurse. He truly loved this job and worked at both the East Brunswick and Piscataway campuses. He felt it was his responsibility to care for his students, especially those who came from disadvantaged backgrounds. He continued working at the Votech through his cancer diagnosis, often attending school while hooked up to IV chemotherapy treatment. He attended school until he was medically unable to do so, and even then was frequently on the phone with the substitute nurse to ensure students received the proper care. Every year he volunteered for the student graduation so that he could be there to participate in his students' big day. His relationship with these students was demonstrated by the fact that dozens of current and former students attended his wake and funeral and sent flowers and cards. In 2018, he was nominated by the school and received the Governor's Educator of the Year award. Throughout our lives, our father had a tremendous amount of love for the town he grew up in. He encouraged our mother, a geriatric nurse practitioner, to volunteer on the Commission on Aging. He was a lifelong parishioner of Corpus Christi Roman Catholic Church and served as an extraordinary minister. Our father was a tremendous man who raised two sons who both went to East Brunswick High School, Eagle Scouts, and on to careers, one as a police officer and one who works in government affairs in Washington, D.C. Michael Sexton passed away at St. Peter's University Hospital in New Brunswick on May 3rd, 2018, surrounded by his family. So with that, I understand that some council members may have an issue with the precedent that this name change can set. I understand the concern. Changing a street name, in my mind, impacts residents and businesses and requires a monetary commitment from the town and the residents on the road. But I'd like to paint a clear picture for the council on Dresden Drive, the road the name change would affect. It's a small, dead-end road, about 100 feet long, adjacent to our family home. Virtually no one knows it has a name. In fact, there's been no street sign for over 15 years. I would argue that our family's probably the only people who know that Dresden Drive has a name. No houses have Dresden Drive addresses, and it is impossible for any new construction to take place. The normal financial and logistical burdens of a name change simply do not apply here. This change does not in fact set a precedent because it is unlikely that the council will be presented with another request that falls under these unique circumstances. There is no good reason I can find to prevent this name change from taking place. Tonight, the council has the opportunity to move past procedure and honor a resident who dedicated his life serving the children of this community. I implore you all to, again, I'm not 100% sure on the bureaucratic procedure here, but second this, move it on to a public hearing, and put your feelings on the subject on the record. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else from the public wishing to speak? Seeing none, I'll close the public portion. At this time, we're moving on to the consent agenda. Is there anything on the agenda that needs to be pulled by council? Any council members?
B,
Councilman?
E, H.
Okay.
And-
E, H.
Oh, that's an ordinance. No, I'm good.
Okay. Can I get a motion for the following items A, C, D, F, G, I through M?
Motion approved.
Motion by Councilman Wendell, second by Councilman Spadafino. Ms. Perry, can you please call the roll?
Councilman McAvoy,
Yes.
Councilman Spadafino,
Yes.
Councilwoman Sullivan,
Yes.
Councilman Wendell,
Yes.
Council President Stanley.
Yes. Can I get a motion for the following item B, 16683, authorizing time, Aperuzzi TA Sprinkler, Inc., to hold a Christmas Lights Fair?
Motion approved.
Motion by Councilman Wendell, second by Councilwoman Sullivan. Open for discussion?
I guess I
Councilman
can direct
McAvoy?
these to our business administrator, I would imagine,
Sure.
unless you, Council President. Has the East Brunswick Police Department been given
Yes.
all relevant materials?
Yes, they have to go, I can answer that question on.
Please do.
For this one, because any of these, when they apply for the permits, we send to various departments. And one of them is the police department, and they approve or disapprove, and they have approved.
Then, would you mind telling me the other departments that
We
you
send it to
sent
recreation, we send it to fire, and construction inspection in case they're putting up tents, and of course, planning and zoning to make sure. But since it's being done on the fairgrounds, and we have permission from the fairgrounds, a letter saying that they are using their facility.
Is it written in the contract? There's a contract?
No,
No?
Contracts with the
With the fairgrounds.
with the
No,
fairgrounds,
with the proprietors of the Christmas
we
light
give them
show.
a permit.
So there's no bona fide contract. Therefore, the question I have is it is written in the contract that all police expenditures be handled by TA Sprinkler
Yes.
Incorporated?
They do. A lot of times, if it's a giant affair, the police will make whoever's having the program post money.
Do you have any idea as to why then, in the TAP article, it said that the Old Bridge Police Department was billed $22,339 when this project was over, and the Public Works was billed to $5,000. They shouldn't be billed anything.
I can
Yeah,
answer that.
got that?
I can answer that. As many moons ago, I was the administrator of Old Bridge. I know where this event takes place. It's off of Englishtown Road on a narrow street which turns, and there's a lot of residential residents there. And there was several issues, complaints, only from what I read in the paper. But I know the area where it was, and I think there was a safety concern here. I think the fairgrounds, may be a solution for the problem. I applaud this gentleman to go to the fairgrounds and see if it would work there. The fairgrounds, as you all know, is an independent entity. They're not owned by Middlesex County. It's the Middlesex County Fairground Association that runs the county fair and so forth. So the people that do this light show engaged in a contract with the fairgrounds to provide or do the similar show. So the issue that went on in Old Bridge, I think, was a matter of parking, traffic control, and safety, people walking in the streets, and not a confined area at the fairground. As you know, sir, as I know you volunteer a lot with the fair, they have a dedicated parking area, they have dedicated areas, so I don't think that's of a similar concern. And they're charging there. And they're charging people to attend the event as well. From what I read in the paper, I have not seen the contract that this man has with the fairground, but I am sure that our clerk, forwarding it over to all the departments and the approval from public safety and so on, took those things into account, and I'm sure they're well aware of what occurred in the neighboring town.
Everything that you said, I'm aware of, and I'm sure everyone on this dais who did their homework is aware. The question, can we be guaranteed that there will not be a bill submitted to the police department when this is over? Again, 23,000, this is not 23 grand in Old Bridge and 552.
The opposite, it was I think is the applicant here? I believe they're here if you want to ask them the question.
When we applied for our permit, we had to go onto the Special Services website.
Right.
And schedule the days for unarmed and armed officers.
Right.
And put in our credit card debt information to pay for those services when those are required to be paid. So that comes back to our credit card and our debt.
Right, so they, on the quasi system, they had to post an escrow in theory that, to pay for those police officers.
And since you mentioned it, Mr. Criscuolo, then it's so easy for us to say that because it's Cranberry Road, the parking, the flow of traffic's going to be easy, and the parking's not going to be a problem, but it is. I don't think it's going to be county fair-esque, but there's going to be a crowd of people who, and rightfully so. It's going to be an inconvenience for the people that live in that area.
If I may? Council President?
Why isn't the county fair an inconvenience?
Sir?
Sir.
Okay.
I agree with your point, Councilman, but there's an event happening at the fairgrounds every other week.
Right now.
And those are traffic issues. People who bought over there bought by the Middlesex County Fairgrounds. I mean, yes, I see the traffic on Cranberry Road gets worse and worse every year, but I don't think we can preclude the Middlesex County Fair Association from having events at their property just based upon, traffic concerns when they're, first of all, they're short events and they're hiring the requisite traffic control.
How about the residents in the neighborhood, in that greater neighborhood? Have they been contacted, whether it's a nixle or even some type of direct communication?
About their application for this permit?
About the fact that that's what's coming. A light show from 5:30 to 10:30.
Any previous event was ever. We've never done that in the past for any event. So what's the specialty here?
No,
I don't understand.
The council has asked at times when the Chateau was going to run fireworks over there.
I don't
or the
understand
Fairground
his line of
Association was going to do fireworks, you asked for the police department to send out a nixle on the days of those events. Likewise, when we're paving main roadways. Tonight, you should have got one about Riders Lane in the county. So if it's the council's pleasure, I'll be more than happy to talk to the chief of police, and prior to that, have a nixle go out and said, hey, there's, this going on at the...
This is going on for a month.
I would have to believe that these gentlemen who are going to be charging admission to this event are going to be doing enough public promotion that we don't need to be authorizing our nixle system to alert residents in the neighborhood that there's going to be traffic. I mean, this is there's been hay rides at the 4-H that have generated traffic. There's all kinds of things going on. I mean, that's what this property's for. It's a public purpose.
Any other questions?
Oh, you're not done. He's not done. I have a question. I have a comment.
It's going on for a month. Hayride was
about a month
tonight. Just saying. And what usually starts out as nice turns into something that's inconvenient. And my bottom line, I think it's just when it comes to the overall just quality of life for those people who live in that greater neighborhood, because you heard me complain from this dais about fireworks being used at the chateau. To be seen. Thank you, Council President.
I don't know if you can answer this question, but I know in the previous years, right, because I've been there, you have a donation you give to veterans.
Homes for our troops.
Oh, excuse me?
Homes for our troops.
Right, homes, okay. Are you still going? Can I ask them a question?
Yeah, there'll still be a donation box.
Okay.
All right.
As to date, we've raised almost $20,000.
Any other questions? Ms. Perry, can you please call the roll?
Councilman McAvoy.
Okay.
Councilman Spadafino.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sullivan.
Yes.
Councilman Wendell.
Yes.
Council President Stanley.
Yes. Thank you.
It's approved.
You get to go to the grand opening?
Can I get a motion for item E, 16686, authorizing execution of shared service agreement with the Township of Woodbridge?
Motion approved.
Motion by Councilman Wendell,
Second.
second by Councilman Spadafino. Open for discussion.
I guess I just didn't see, Joe, what the service was.
This is exactly what we've put in place with Milltown and with South Brunswick. Other communities also have continued to contact me about potentially doing this. This is more of a shared service agreement for reciprocal, meaning that if we have a need, maybe something that we can't undertake, or if there's specialty equipment. Now, especially at the town like Woodbridge, which is a lot larger, they have a lot of specialty equipment that we may be in need of for a given period of time, that I'll use DPW as an example, would come over with this specialty equipment, do the work, and we will pay for their hourly wages and the material that they utilize during the project, and using the FEMA rate for the specialty equipment, bill each other back. This has been a topic of conversation throughout the state. Do more shared service agreement. As an example, we did this with the school system when they need Vector services for the catch basins or the sewer lines or whatnot. South Brunswick, on one hand, likes one of our trucks to inspect their sewer lines. They don't have that truck. So when there's an emergency and they need help, most of this will occur in the evenings and on weekends, and will be billed at overtime rate. They'll go there and help their DPW crew out with diagnosing maybe a problem. And this spans the whole gamut. Another area where we're researching is in the area of IT and cybersecurity. Some of the smaller towns naturally are looking to the bigger towns to help them out with IT-type services. And a big town like Woodbridge and us, when we're together, we can have a good conversation about providing that service. So rather than going to outsourcing it to another company or whatever, IT in a municipal environment is a little bit different because you're dealing with sensitive data with police and so on. So these types of shared services agreements enables towns and Board of Educations really to work together for the good of the taxpayer and keeping the costs down. And I'm proud actually of our staff to look into things like Woodbridge. It's a big neighbor of ours, and they're very good to work with, and we look to continue these relationships with other communities, and we have it now with the Board of Education, and I see Trudy's here. So I think you're going to see more of these in the future as a way of doing business to help to work with each other. This does not preclude a situation where we have spare capacity in a given department at a given time, and maybe a neighboring town needs some help in that particular area. So the shared service will enable us to keep our staff at that particular level, and maybe work with a neighboring town with a particular person that has that skill set. So it's always good and always a lot cheaper to keep it in-house. But you're probably going to see more of these in the next 6 months, as my association is really glad to see that East Brunswick has taken a lead to be the lead agency in a lot of these agreements. We already have a shared service agreement with Woodbridge to do the kennel. So any dog or cat or whatever that's captured here and needs to have kennel occupancy, we bring them to Woodbridge and they run the kennel there, and they charge us back. So this is really just another extension of that.
Thank you.
Ms. Perry, can you please call the roll?
Councilman McAvoy?
Yes.
Councilman Spadafino?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sullivan?
Yes.
Councilman Wendell?
Yes.
Council President Stanley?
Yes. Can I get a motion for item H, 16689, amending resolution number 16589 to add block 31, lot 2.05, and authorize the Township Planning Board to undertake a preliminary investigation to determine whether Ace Auto Records located at block 31, lot 2.03 and 2.05 is a non-condemnation area in need of redevelopment.
Motion approved.
Motion by Councilman Wendell, second.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Sullivan. Open for discussion.
Mr. Hughes mentioned it and clarified it. However, Councilman Wendell, anything to add to the community's knowledge of what
No,
the avenue? the
both of
direction-
these lots were studied several years ago and approved by the council and the planning board. But these property owners at that time were not comfortable having their properties included. And as Mr. Hughes mentioned, this property owner's come back to us and is looking to redevelop his property now into something more of a recycling business rather than a junk business. And as such, he's come to us and, is looking for the help of the redevelopment agency to move his property redevelopment forward.
Thank you, Councilman Wendell. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. Ms. Perry, please call the roll.
Councilman McAvoy?
Yes.
Councilman Spadafino?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sullivan?
Yes.
Councilman Wendell?
Yes.
Council President Stanley?
Yes. Moving on to ordinances requiring a public hearing date October 28, 2019. Can I get a motion for the following ordinance, 19-28, amending Chapter 209, Vehicles and Traffic, Section 49, Schedule 10, trucks registered 4-ton gross weight or over of the Code of the Township of East Brunswick.
Motion approved.
Motion by
Second.
Councilman Wendell, second by Councilman McAvoy. Open to discussion. No? Ms. Perry, can you please call the roll?
Councilman McAvoy?
Yes.
Councilman Spadafino?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sullivan?
Yes.
Councilman Wendell?
Yes.
Council President Stanley?
Yes. Ordinance 19-29 was pulled prior to the meeting from this agenda. Moving on to ordinance 19-30. Can I get a motion for the following? Bond ordinance providing for various road improvements in and by the Township of East Brunswick in the County of Middlesex, New Jersey, appropriating $4,600,000 thereof and authorizing the issuance of $4,396,500 bonds and notes of the Township to finance part of the cost thereof.
Motion approved.
Motion by Councilman Wendell, Second. Second by Councilman Spadafino. Ms. Perry, please call the roll.
I'll go with the, I'll just ask the mayor for clarification on that. I'm just going to go with the general why.
We made a commitment that we're going to move on our road improvement project and invest more money in the roads. We were looking to try to at least double what we did last year. As most of you know, we have 180 miles of roads in the township that are the township's responsibility. That's 180 out of 360 miles of roads. The other 180 are divided between the county and the state. And at a cost of repaving of about $400,000 per mile, we've been traditionally putting aside about $2 million a year to do roads, which at best gets us 5 miles of roads. So 5 into 180 makes me dead by the time we finish all 180 miles of road. So the goal is to try to set aside funds so that we can make a bigger dent in some of the roads that in the past have really just been neglected. And we may still not get everything that we need to have done. I'm sure if we do enlist 20 roads, the person who's number 21 on the list is going to be unhappy. But we can't continue to move at the pace that we're doing. By the time we would get to some of these roads, the ones we would have done would need to be repaired again. So that's the attempt on our part, is to try to make the commitment that we said from the very beginning to improving the roadways throughout the township. That's our
I'm sure you've done the homework on the tax impact. Is it going to be?
Well, right now we haven't actually done our taxes for the up year coming because we haven't figured out our budget yet. But the goal is to make sure that that doesn't have a huge impact on taxes.
And with regard to the capital improvement money that you have, you're still going to move forward with capital improvements and not pull that money and put it into roads.
Right.
If we're going to give you, if we're going to give us $4.6 million.
Let's be clear. When the mayor came into office, we understood that the roads were the biggest topic of concern for residents. And at $400,000 a mile, do the math. I'm stealing one of the mayor's lines. Do the math. It's going to take a long time to get around to all the roads. We hear from residents about what they believe is failures in their road systems and so on. We prioritize all these roads. But we need to have a comprehensive road program rolled out to keep up with this, because the DPW personnel just going out repairing cracks and sealing them and so on sometimes doesn't get you anywhere. So the huge concern of the residents of this town is potholes and road conditions. And as was stated, when we just did Ruse Lane a couple of weeks ago, we had this very discussion on this dais. That was $500,000 because somebody came in and said, well, why didn't you go further down the road? Well, that would be another $600,000 to get us down to the intersection. So it's very costly. But we have to invest in our future. Just like you said, we have to invest in our water system because we don't want to become another Newark or Flint or South River or other towns that are relying upon us now for their water supply. So we got to be forward thinking. And this is the most that any council has put out in many, many years. I share your concern. But the roads need to be worked on. They need to be taken care of. It's a vital part of your infrastructure. These problems are not going to go away. And even at $2 million, you're only talking about paving 5 or 6 miles of road. Divide that into 180 miles. Doesn't go far.
Mr. Crisculo, well aware of everything that you've said. I've been a resident of this community for 30-plus years, so I get it. I'm just questioning our mayor with regard to two things. You said you only have $2 million for roads, and now we're going to bond you $4.6 million. So, and I get that too. Just making some general comments to the viewers at home that this is not monopoly money. This is real money. And I also questioned to ensure that the other capital improvements that you probably have planned, you're not taking money away from, a new roof on this building for the roads. I get the road thing. I get it very clearly. That's the topic of conversation that comes up all the time with the taxpayers of our community. Keep the taxes down, Mr. McAvoy. Pick up my garbage. Fix the potholes. And I understand that this $4.6 million added to the $2 million that you already have is going to help. It's not going to be a cure-all, but it sure is going to make an improvement. And the Ruse Lane Road was not our money, right? That was county money or state money. I do believe it was county money.
And this bond, $510,000 of this is state grant money as well, if you read the bond.
Right, I'm just saying that the paving, that was done.
Exactly. It's part of the TTF fund that we got from the state. So we are getting a $510,000 to do Old Stage Road. That was from the prior year's grant application. And we will be issuing bond anticipation notes for the remaining $4 million. So we're actually going to do closer to $4.6 million dollars of that. We want to get this bond ordinance done now because it's learned, and I've been doing this for a long while, and Raj worked with me in another municipality. If we can get road paving out to bid in December timeframe, the cost is less. So what we are going to do is do two actually construction bids and try to get them out early enough that we get the best price. And that's been the strategy of Mayor Cohen's administration, is to get these out, get a locked-in provider, and let's hit the ground running with road paving early spring on roads that are not near schools, and then once the school lets out, we continue on and do the remaining roads in that manner. So that continues to be the strategy, but we can't put out a bid until we have the funds appropriated.
Thank you. Council President?
Ms. Perry, please call the roll.
Councilman McAvoy?
Yes.
Councilman Spadafino?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sullivan?
Yes.
Councilman Wendell?
Yes.
Council President Stanley?
Yes. Moving on to new business. Can I get a motion for the approval of council agenda action meeting minutes for September 13, 2019?
Motion approved.
Motion by Councilman Wendell, second by Councilman McAvoy. Ms. Perry, please call the roll.
Councilman McAvoy?
Yes.
Councilman Spadafino?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sullivan?
Yes.
Councilman Wendell?
Yes.
Moving on to the good of the cause. Does anyone on the dais have anything for the good of the cause tonight? Seeing none, can I get a motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Councilman Wendell, second by Mr. Spadafino. Everyone in favor? Aye. Have a good night, everyone.